So let's say that you're playing some kind of an RPG or otherwise game where you have a party. You know, you have NPCs joining, right?
Right.
And in the late game, a character joins and they get, at the best, a very minimal character development, not really great interactions, usually a lukewarm story, maybe lukewarm mechanics, but definitely feels like they're kind of tacked into the end game. A lot of games.
Yeah, and then you go to the final dungeon.
Yeah.
Boom.
A lot of games suffer from that. But they don't have to. You really don't have to have that problem. And when we were given this during our AMA with Fox last Friday, Teal and I told the person that we were going to research it. And we did. We did. Because there are 3 ways we were able to distill. Three. There we go. 3 ways that we were able to distill, coming down to how you can go ahead and avoid this. And I think it was actually Roxy who asked the question. If it was Roxy, thank you.
It was Roxy, yeah. Thank you, Roxy. Yeah. Good topic. Yeah.
This got us thinking, because a lot of times when we talk about this stuff, we talk about video games, we talk about, you know, how to design this or how to craft this story beat or just various things. But this is an actual problem that a lot of games, especially RPGs, have. And by Roxy asking this question, it has forced us to kind of think outside of our usual wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So, and yes, Burke is correct. Mass Effect 2 specifically did a great job of that, but we're going to talk about 3 specific ways you can do it and cite 3 specific games.
Yeah.
The first one.
So the first one
is to allude to the character during the course of the entire game. Have the character referenced. Have their abilities referenced. Have their powers referenced. Have their connection to the protagonist and the story referenced. It's called, you know, allusion.
Illusion, that's right. You don't want to just grab a character, you just drop it in.
Yeah.
Just drop it in the story and, okay, now let's go off to the next dungeon.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not how you do it.
No.
Illusion.
Illusion, you know, not illusion with an I, allusion with an A. You allude to the character. And you can have the person be straight up seen. They can have camera time. They totally can have camera time. They don't have to.
You can have them in cutscenes throughout the game.
Yes.
They're not in the main party. They're in cutscenes over here.
They could be an NPC with no interaction in a previous game. Like, let's say you're making a sequel.
Oh, yeah.
So, in the first game, the character doesn't have any party interaction. I'm sorry, they don't join the party. They never join the party. They don't join
the party, right.
But they're there. And then in the second game, you allude to them. You show what they can do. And then when you join them, the player will already have in their head what that person can do power-wise, ability-wise, and what they bring to the story and their relationship to the characters. And we have the perfect example of a person. This character was alluded to throughout. Okay, let me start over. This character was very prevalent in the first game of this series. This character had a massive role to play in the very first spin-off. And in the second game, this character is alluded to constantly where it's like, where the hell is this person? And when this person does join your party at the final dungeon, the emotional impact is huge. And their role in the final battle is key to victory. Who are we talking about?
We're talking about Riku from the Kingdom Hearts series.
Specifically
in Kingdom Hearts 2, when he shows up at the end.
Riku is Sora's best friend. They have a friendly rivalry over the affections of Kairi, although it is extremely one-sided because Kairi only really has feelings for Sora. That rivalry and the jealousy that Riku feels turns him into an antagonist in the first game. And the first game ends with him just wherever, disappearing into the darkness of Kingdom Hearts.
Right.
And in the first spin-off, Reverse Rebirth, that's his redemption arc.
Yeah.
And in the second game, he's just gone.
You don't see him.
He's talked about, but he's gone. And he literally shows up. I mean, he's alluded to. He's shown in some cutscenes with his Ansem disguise.
Right.
But he literally shows up as a playable character in the final dungeon, the world that never was.
And when you gain control of him, his stats are comparable to Sora's.
Yep.
His abilities complement Sora, and they're very, very helpful in that final battle.
Yes, yes. There are parts of the final battle against Xemnas that you cannot win without having good use of Riku, especially on the higher levels of difficulty, like critical. Proud and critical. His ability to block an incoming attack from Xemnas is a key strategy on the higher levels of difficulty. You actually controlled him for about a minute or two when Sora's being electrocuted. So
that's right.
This character, legit, is alluded to as a playable character throughout the entire game of Kingdom Hearts 2. And the emotional fulfillment of him, as well as the way he helps the game.
Yeah.
A tier, S tier.
It is S tier.
God tier. I haven't said that in a while, haven't I?
I know you haven't.
And yes, Kiro is correct. Technically, it is kind of a bromance. I mean, we have people that ship the characters.
Sure.
We don't agree with that. Well, I don't agree with that because of the Kairi thing. I'm all in the Sora and Kairi camp. But, whatever. Ship the characters if you want. That's awesome. But they definitely have a powerful best friendship. It is super strong. And I loves it. Okay. And hey, Locke.
Yeah, Steele's getting the old quotes out tonight. Yep.
Hey, Locke. Good to see you. Hope you're having a good one. So yeah, that's the first one.
Yeah.
Then there's the second one.
Okay.
History. Make them part of the game's world lore. So again, it's a type of illusion, but instead of it having a personal connection to the player directly, you learn about them. You learn about who they are and how they connect to the world. And then when you meet them, they contribute something. Now, sometimes.
So from a story perspective, they're very relevant.
Yes.
You're not just pulling that person out of your butt and throwing them in because I need something here.
Right. 100%.
The person is very much connected to your world story, your meta plot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the example we chose is Vincent.
Vincent Valentine from Final Fantasy OG.
7 to be specific. Like her favorite character from Final Fantasy 7. And she did.
Yo!
True story. I was actually having trouble remembering the first one with Riku. We have our notes. Talk about Vincent.
Okay.
Save us, please.
We're talking about Vincent from original Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, because he's not in the remake yet.
Not yet. But this is a character who is intertwined with the history of that game, of the game story.
Yep. Yes. For those of you who don't remember, he was a former Turk. My history's a little fuzzy. I don't remember if he worked with Sang specifically, but he was a Turk. He was straight up a Turk. It was see guys, this is why we need to take better notes. Vincent has a crush on Sephiroth's mom. I remembered. Okay, so Vincent has a crush on Sephiroth's mama. Hojo ends up putting the seed in the flower pot. Still going there. Out pops Sephi. And Vincent
is locked away in a deep, dark dungeon.
Because Hojo can't handle someone dying.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is this. Vincent is given his history throughout the game. Well, not all of it, because he's an optional character. But he's closely tied to the history of the story. He's the almost father of the main villain. Yeah. So, in this instance, Vincent Valentine was someone who you find out about over the course of the game. Not much, again, optional character, but you find out about his history and his connection to the world lore, and in this case, the final boss.
Yeah, so it's not a complete surprise when you come across him.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is how you should write a character like that.
Yeah, if you're gonna create a history character, so we had the illusion character that was Riku, the history character is Vincent, then make sure they're entwined in your world lore or your game history. Give them some kind of a connection to what the player is actually going through, so that when they show up, they'll be like, "Oh, that's that character. Cool. Now he's fighting with us." And then give him powers that are comparable to his background. If he's a person who has a whole bunch of dark energy powers, then give him dark energy powers. If he's a person who, like Vincent, is the result of terrible bio experiments, basically a vampire, then give him that. And in that end, you have a character showing up pretty late game, because Vincent does show relatively late game. He's not.
Yeah, he does.
He's not in game, but he is one of the last characters you get, along with like Sid Highwind. And he's actually a pretty strong character. So he was done correctly, and it was all thematic.
Yes, it was.
So that's the second one.
All right, and then that was the second way. Now there's a third way.
Hi, Silver Shion. What's the third way?
Yeah. No, we don't talk about Bruno.
We don't. Yeah, right? Yeah, he's a vampire unless you play Dirge of Cerberus and you discover Hojo is even more of an SOB. Dude, if you play Final Fantasy Remake, they make Hojo repulsive.
Yes, they do.
Love how much I hate him. Okay. The third way is, and they were talking about this in chat earlier, take a villain and make him into a party member.
Absolutely.
And there is one character from one of the most famous RPGs of all times who late game goes from being ultra villain to literally one of the best party members you can get.
Yeah. And that is Magus.
From Chrono Trigger. Yes. And there is, if I see anybody in the audience saying otherwise, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. But seriously, he's the villain for the first half of the game. Straight up. He's the bad guy. He's Glenn's specific antagonist. He is the guy you have to overcome in order to go from part A to part B. And then you find out his backstory, legit, when you go to Zeal, and you find out, he's Scala's younger brother. He's, his anger and his hatred is born of his hating Lavos and his mother. It's a real, and his love of his sister. It's a really strong story, and you fight him, and then you find out his story, and then you have the chance to actually kill him. You do actually have the chance to kill him completely.
Yeah, you do.
You shouldn't, because he is by. Yeah, go ahead.
But go ahead, because he's good.
He's by far the most powerful mage in the game, straight up. Like, he makes everyone else look stupid. Chrono's Lumiere spell is the only thing that can compare to Magus's powers. Plus, with Magus, you get the Dark Eternal triple tech, which is just dumb.
So he's very, very useful in the late stage of the game.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, there's a good, compelling story reason for him to show up, and he's exceedingly useful.
He is god awesome. And he's so memorable. As Roxy is saying, he also manages to stand out being a hybrid class. Yeah, he has his scythe. He can actually handle himself in close combat, but he is also an incredible mage. Janus Zeal, aka Magus, is a party member you do not want to ignore.
Right.
And he's a late stager. So these three examples are These three examples are things you can do. You can have the character alluded to during the course of the game. You can have the character be part of the game's history. Or you could have the character be an antagonist, a villain.
Yeah.
Turn good.
And then turn good.
All three of those examples, the player is given more than enough time to have a reference frame and decide they like the character. And then you give them powers and abilities that are thematic and comparable to the main.
Yeah.
You do that, and you are guaranteed to have a late arrival who can compare to the rest of the party.
Yeah.
All right.
And one more thing.
Okay.
When you're building them out stats wise, make sure that their level and their abilities are in line with the rest of the party.
Yes.
So you could take a party average of level or whatever you decide to do to make them part of that party.
And if they're a character that is hyper connected to the protagonist, I would absolutely say make them comparable to the hero, to the protagonist. Riku to Sora, Magus to Chrono. I absolutely 100% say do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you like what you saw, lay that smack down that like button below, subscribe to our channel, consider supporting us on Patreon, connect with us over Facebook, Twitter, Discord, and we'll see you in the next video.
See you next time.